Hey everybody, how's it going? For some reason, I did not use those Karnivore IRs from the last video in a mix, and they sound so good and so original that I really wanted to get them in a mix and see what I could do. So, right now, I have a mix that I've been working on. It isn't absolutely perfect, finished sort of thing, but I thought I'd take you along the journey and see where I'm up to. I'm like 95% done, and it does sound cool. And you guys like to see the mixes I'm working on. You guys ask about it all the time, and I'll go into sort of what my thoughts are on this as I go through. And yeah, let's just hang out and listen to some cool stuff. Here's a quick demo. It's a minute long. It's really heavy. I'll talk about it afterwards. Here it is. So what I'm going for with that, guys, is a very modern sounding mix. You've heard this kind of thing before. If you've seen my Ragnar drums video, it is pretty much the same sort of thing as that. You know, I've got that very heavy-handed modern drum kit sound, groove orientated, yeah, contemporary. And the Graphene demo, you know, it's not that far away from that, to be quite honest. The bass and the drums are near enough the same sort of thing. I've tweaked them a little bit since those demos, but I'll get into that in a minute. So the guitars, yeah, I wanted to use those sounds that I was getting in the last video on a mix because I was just blown away by the sounds. It has that very sort of like angular growling mid-range, which fills up a lot of the mid-range like a little bit more than a V30 does. So the mix is like slightly different. I felt that this mix, the bass guitar wasn't like poking out, like the voice of the bass, not the low end, but the actual mid-range voice of the bass wasn't cutting through like it normally does with the V30s I use, which was one thing that I noticed. So like the growl of the bass isn't quite as present in this mix, which I wasn't missing it in a massive way because the guitars are very much bringing the growl. Like I didn't need any more growl from the bass. So the voice of the bass was sort of sitting in the same sort of mid area that the guitars were, which I might change at some point, but yeah, that's one thing to note. So what we got going on with the guitars, Shoeless drive, I've got the mids shoved to the left position, which is a bit more of a like thicker mid-range sounded good. We've got neural amp modeler, Chug capture, just probably one of the best free tones you can get at the moment. One of the best free amp sim amp captures. It does what it says on the tin. It's got a fantastic chugging sound. The mids are really good. The highs are really good. The response is really nice. Got Pulse version 1 loaded up because it's just super simple. I didn't want any bells and whistles. And I've got that pack loaded up from Martin Fritz 93, absolute legend on Tone Hunt. If you want these broken down individually, like soloed out, that is my last video. What I've got loaded up is not the Engel cab, but the Coffee cab. It's the M160, where the cap meets the cone. And I've got blended in MD421, where the cap meets the cone. Just a good all-round sound. I just wanted to get something a little bit brighter on the right side. That's what I tend to do. So I do two guitar performances, one hard left, one hard right. This one on the hard right, I tend to want a little bit brighter. I don't know why, it's just the way I've always done it, just to differentiate it from the left side ever so slightly. And what I've been doing on a lot of mixes, this stuff, you know, you've seen this a million times, high pass, low pass, cutting out some of the woolly low mids, it just makes sense. And then I'm cutting out at 4K, just enough to get rid of the scratchiness and that kind of harshness that's there on pretty much all guitar tones, like across the board. And I'm brightening on the way out with an exciter, like everything on the master track, everything is getting hit with that exciter. So you do get a bit of like a build up in brightness. So I do compensate on the individual tracks. It depends on the sounds, it depends on the tones, just use your ears. And something I've been doing recently, just to get a bit more heft, if you've got like a modern mid-rangey sound, you can lose ever so slightly, just a little bit of the heft, a bit of the low, like subby heft. So instead of high passing to about 100 hertz, I've been high passing to about 90. And it just adds in that tiny little bit of heft. Bringing it back from 100 to 90 just adds in a tiny little bit more thickness to the guitars. If I was using a scoop tone, I probably wouldn't do this. I'd keep it at about 100, 120. But for a modern tone, it seems to work well. And this is just for the intro. Got Melda Flanger just for the intro sound, and then sort of like a lo-fi sound. I'm cutting out everything below 800 and everything above 2K. Just gives you that kind of like scratchy sort of radio sound, basically. Like scratchy old vintage radio sound. And guitar number 2, there's not a whole lot different. Shoeless drive is the same, neural lamp model is the same. The IR, it's the M160 again, where the cap meets the cone, but I haven't blended in another IR. I thought this sounded good by itself for this side. EQ is near enough the same, I'm pretty sure. Might be slightly different, but yeah, the high pass is at 90 again. And on the bus, same as usual really, except for yeah, the high pass is at 90. And I do this further high pass on the bus because re-EQ on the individual guitars, it doesn't quite get rid of all the sub lows. There's always like a little bit of a rumble going on. No matter what tone I'm using, there's always like that, a bit of rumble. So it's nice to get just another EQ on there, on the bus, just to lob off all the low ends, keep the guitars tight, and this does a good job. Doing the Andy Sneap trick here at 200 hertz. This will just dip when I'm doing palm mutes, because you'll get a bloom around here, which does sound good. You don't want to zap the hell out of these, but just reducing them by about 3 dB just keeps things under control and doesn't like mess with the master bus limiters and compression and stuff. And then just taking out this really horrible frequency here at 3.5K. Again, I'm not zapping the hell out of it, I'm just reducing it by about 2-3 dB. Lead guitar, it is those IRs again, and this lead tone, I wanted it to be like pretty over the top, in your face. So I've got the NA808 driving pretty hard there into teaser. Now this is just an absolute like roaring, singing, crazy animal of an amp, and it has a lot of mid-range to it, so I've just taken down the mids there, and it still pokes through really nice. This just has a really good voice for lead. I've used this on a bunch of releases, love it. Going into pulse, so what I've got going on here is the Engel cab packs. So this is the M160 center. This is kind of, this sounds just seem to have a lot more going on across the board really, a lot more like low end, a lot more mids. It's a different character to the coffee cabs, and the center just sounded good for this. Chorus, got a fair bit of chorus going, so I've cranked up the depth ever so slightly and the speed, and it just gives you that cool chorus sound. Don't know how to describe it really. And the mix in the center just sort of spreads it over the stereo spectrum a little bit. Sounds really nice. EQ, this is what I normally do. Similar to the rhythm guitars, but I bring things in a bit. So there's less low end going on, less scratchy high end. Got that cut at 4K, and I've got this like tiny little scoop at 800. Just sounded right to me. You know, it's good to fine tune. I mean, like, you know, scooping the mids here, some, you know, modern guys always boosting this frequency, but you know, use your ears, guys. Like if there's a mid-range character that isn't right to your ears, just get scooping. Do what you need to do. You might want to boost this, you might want to cut it, just use your ears. Then the analog rack, Nembrini, the delay, this thing's just great on lead guitar, great on vocals, really, really like it. Bass guitar, so I noticed, yeah, the voice of it was getting like sort of buried by the mid-range of the guitars. I mean, fantastic guitar tone, I really like this guitar tone, it's very singular, it kind of sounds like the Ginger guys, the Ginger guitarists sound a little bit, but you know, ever so slightly different. It's got that really, really big growling mid-range to it, and it was kind of swallowing the tone of the bass, like I said before. This is the main bass track, BOD by TSE. Been using it forever. You guys have seen this a million times. Sounds great. I'm scooping the hell out of it. So it's definitely focusing on the low end, you know, and the high end of the bass, but then still, I'm not high passing or low passing the bass. It doesn't quite work for me when I do that. So just low shelf and a high shelf, just to tame the bass, just to get the bass exactly where I want it, you know. And then the compression, just reduced about 2 or 3 dB, because TSE BOD just tends to control the bass guitar. Like the compression and the overdrive just really smooths it out really well. Mocha Fake Snow Amp, been using this forever, and yeah, the voice of this was kind of getting swallowed by the guitars, so I probably want to EQ this entire track like a little bit differently. It doesn't sound bad, it's just the voice of the bass was getting buried a little bit. And I'm doing the opposite of the other EQ, so I was scooping the hell out of that one, and now, so it's just like bass and highs, whereas this is just mids. You guys have seen this a million times, so this is like a bit of a severe high pass there. I don't want to EQ it exactly like a guitar, but I want to EQ it more like a guitar, so it pops out the mix. And the compression is just a safety net. This is barely doing anything. Right, the drums, which you guys have been asking about the drums in the past couple of demos, and it's Ragnar Drums by Solemn Tones. Solemn Tones sent this over for free. I've really been loving it. Does that modern, you know, in your face, you know, like Humanity's Last Breath type sound. It does have that sound. It's very in your face. There's lots of different drum kits on this, but this is the Doom Kit preset. I've tweaked it a little bit here and there, just mess with levels basically. I took some of the low end off the kick because it was just like, it's very over the top. Like if you load up the Doom preset on here, the kick drum is very over the top. The whole kit is OTT for sure. So yeah, just taming the lows there. And after the drum kit, I'm taming the lows again. Yeah, just around 60 hertz, just to make sure it's not blowing the hell out the mix. Sounds really nice. Just got the beginning of like an explosion sound here, like a little build up before we kick in, and I was going to have the end of this here when the track kicks in, but I felt I didn't really need it. You know, this is just sort of sugar and spice type stuff. I've got some automation going on, so when the lead guitar comes in here, I am just dipping the volume of the rhythm guitars by 1 dB. I do this pretty much across the board on any mix. It just lets the lead guitars sing, and you don't need to like poke them out too high. And when the lead guitars finish, you can bring the rhythm guitars back up, and it doesn't sound like there's too much of a drop in volume on the guitars. Just sounds a little bit more even. And I've got that automation just turning the lo-fi effect off and turning the flanger effect off on this little intro guitar bit. When it kicks in, that is what's going on there. So here's the guitars soloed. Yeah, really, really like go. Just a roaring monster tone. Really, really like that. Is the crazy over-the-top lead sound. Yeah, what I do across the board with everything, especially leads, is I'll comp takes. So, you know, like I played this first and played this second and played this there. So I did a bunch of takes, and yeah, sort of as I go, I thought, oh, this is a good bit, I'll keep that. Oh, that sounded okay, I'll keep that. And, you know, I just sort of go through it piece by piece. I might do, you know, 10, 20 takes of leads before I'm happy. Or I could just do it in one, it really depends. Here's the bass guitar. So it's a Jaguar bass, it's got a PJ setup in it, quite a traditional sound to it. And the distorted track is the exact same performance, it's just copied and pasted below. And yeah, it has that kind of sound like vocal sound, which the guitars have. So what I should probably do with this is go for more of a modern, like zingy dingwall kind of thing. That would probably sound better. You can change one thing in the mix and it can make another things like sound bad or not sound as present. Or you can change something in a mix and it can enhance something else. You know, this is, yeah, you'd be chasing your tail sometimes, guys. And here are the drums soloed out. Yeah, as you can hear there, guys, like very over the top, very roomy, lots of reverb, compressed to hell. Yeah, love it. Master track, very quickly, it is everything I usually do. If you want a big breakdown of what I do with my master chain, it is linked below, guys. The video explaining it all is linked below. Everything is pretty much the same as I do it, but the master limiter, I found this was kind of getting hit a bit too hard and I didn't want to turn everything down, so I've just turned the threshold down on the master limiter from about, I have it around 2.83 down to minus 2.4. So it's not getting hit quite as hard, but it is still getting worked. I'm getting between, you know, 1, maybe 2 dB on some of the loud bits, but that is it. You lose a little bit of level, but you can always compensate with it with something else like Mojo. I could always crank Mojo and yeah, get a little bit more level out of it. This is all explained in that video, link below, guys. And then restream into OBS. I just wanted to break down this mix because people have been asking about the drums and all that kind of thing, and people wanted these guitars in a mix. And yeah, I am very happy with the results so far. It's got that gnarliness, but it's got a smooth like character to it, but it's also aggressive. And it's a totally unique tone. The Karnivore speaker is still, you know, brand new, and there's going to be IR packs coming out. I'm sure there's going to be plugins coming out with Karnivore IRs with the Karnivore sound, and yeah, I'm all for it. Fantastic tones. What do you guys think? Comment below, guys. Hit the like button. All that rubbish. Check out the links below. Check out my IR packs. Check out this IR pack, and enjoy. Hey, since you're still here, why not check out my music? I've got the crazy brutal stuff like Nest of Scum and Habitual Slaughter over on Bandcamp, and my latest release, By the Horns, is now available on all streaming platforms. If you want something more melodic, check out my Resinton albums, available on all streaming platforms also. And if you just like the instrumental demos from here on the channel, I have the Demo Collection series, exclusively on Bandcamp. So what are you waiting for? Check it all out. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to see more metal related stuff. I'll be back sometime with a video on something else. So until then, ciao.